stand as good people of Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You would also hold on, and then we listen to the last presenter, which is Center for Democratic Empowerment. Sirs, if you are here, kindly introduce yourself and then go on with your presentation. It's 3:55, and you have 20 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Alex Entry, the Executive Director of Center for Democratic Empowerment. On my right is Richard Danso. He's the Executive Secretary. And on my left...
Kindly pull the microphone towards you, please.
On my right is Richard Danso, the Executive Secretary, and on my left is Ernest Dansapia, Director of Operations, Center for Democratic Empowerment. We are very grateful for this opportunity to talk, given to us to talk in line with the proposed bill currently before Parliament. The object of the bill is to provide for proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values, proscribe LGBTQ and related activities, proscribe propaganda of advocacy for promotion, proscribe for promotion of LGBTQ and related activities, provide for the protection and support for children, persons who are victims or accused of LGBTQ and related activities, and other persons and related matters. We've also noted various concerns raised by the National House of Chiefs, the current president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, former President John Ejekum Kufuor, and former President John Evans Atta Mills of blessed memory. It is based on their submissions that the LGBTQ bill was founded. So I want to make statements on that. In the case of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his two predecessors, President John Ejekum Kufuor and President John Evans Atta Mills, the statements made by them point to one direction, to the fact that Ghana is a sovereign state, and as leaders, they would not allow themselves to be coerced by any international influence and impose their culture on us. They were of the view that LGBTQ is not part of the Ghanaian culture, and so they would not succumb to any foreign pressure and legalize LGBTQ activities and same-sex marriage in Ghana. These major key features ran through all the statements issued by the three presidents. Having said so, we want to say that statements made by them has got nothing to do with criminalization of LGBTQ activities in Ghana. We don't see any connection between what our president said and the current bill before Parliament. The president and his predecessors made statements that did not change the status quo of LGBTQ and its related activities in Ghana. In the case of the sponsors of the bill, their intention is to impose a custodial punishment of not less than 5 years and more on people engaged in LGBTQ activities So using statements made by our renowned and distinguished statesmen as part of the reason to break international and regional codes and treaties which Ghana has ratified in order to achieve their agenda of trampling upon the rights of innocent citizens is not right. The presentation made by the sponsors in this regard is also an affront on the rights of the president and his predecessors. In their submission, the sponsors did not state anywhere that they sought the permission of the president and his predecessors before involving them in their agenda of human rights abuse, which has been described by major international media outlets as the most draconian anti-LGBTQ legislation on earth. Since President John Kufuor and our current president have not come out openly to support the bill, we humbly submit that Honorable Sam George Nati and his colleagues withdraw the involvement of the presidents from their own agenda. On the part of the statement issued by the National House of Chiefs, it is directly connected to issues related to the defunct LGBTQ office at Tesano, Accra, and therefore needs to be discussed. The preamble of the statement states, the House wants to state without equivocation that throughout history, nowhere does the Ghanaian culture subscribe to LGBTQ, which is a taboo, inhuman, and alien to our society. In God's wisdom, man and woman were created to fulfill the procreation of humans on earth to satisfy God's will. The symbolism for sex marriage was between man and woman. As such, the idea of man marrying man and woman marrying woman is an abomination to our tradition and culture as Ghanaians. Now let's break the statement down into the following points for discussion. 1, throughout history, nowhere does Ghanaian culture subscribe to LGBTQ. 2, LGBTQ is a taboo, inhuman, and alien to our society. 3, God created man and woman to fulfill procreation of human beings on earth. In dealing with the first point, we want to point out to our revered chiefs, Nananom, and the entire public, that there is no history in Ghana, and for that matter, any country in the world, that can prove that LGBTQ activities does not exist in their jurisdiction. The statement is false. Long before the advent of the global LGBTQ issue, there were LGBTQ people everywhere in the world. The only difference is that the term LGBTQ or the LGBTQ organization was not formed. What is LGBTQ? LGBTQ is made up of people whose gender identity and sexual orientation is different from the generally acceptable gender identity. We all know, unless we want to pretend that in Ghana there are people who were born with a male sex, but as they grew up, they behaved, talked, and dressed as women. Even during the times that wearing of earring by men was alien to the Ghanaian culture, this caliber of people used to wear earrings. These people who are generally known and referred to as Kojo Besia to wit, man, woman, existed in Ghana and every part of Africa, and for that matter, the world. These people who were naturally born male never had sex with the opposite sex, but were always seen going out with their fellow men. These people are gays, and they exist everywhere in Ghana, Africa, and the world. These people are also created by God, and they don't need the approval of any culture to exist. If we can get one Ghanaian who can stand up and attest to the fact that he or she has never known about the existence of this kind of people, we will be very surprised. We want to take this opportunity to challenge Honorable Samuel George Nate and his colleagues to boldly come out and say to the world that they never knew the existence of Kojo Besia in Ghana. Having established the existence of gays in Ghana, we want to say that there has never been any time in Ghana's history that gay have ever vanished from the system. Who also in Ghana can say he or she doesn't know the existence of lesbians in Ghana? Before the inception of the LGBTQ in Ghana, we had girls who were sexually attracted to their fellow same-sex partners. In our boarding schools, they openly harassed themselves on campus. They slept on the same bed in their dormitories and indulged in all manner of amorphous activities. These girls used to call themselves Supi. I would challenge anybody who went to secondary school before the LGBTQ stigma to come out and boldly say he or she doesn't know the existence of Supi. In fact, my organization is very surprised that Ghanaians and Africans are behaving this way. President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, who has even criminalized LGBTQ activities in his country, admitted that gays exist in Africa. Maybe the problem with Ghanaians and Africa is that they see gay differently from LGBTQ. We want to let Ghanaians and Africa know today that gay, lesbians, Kojo Besia, Supi are all part of LGBTQ, and they exist in Ghana and has always been part of our culture. One thing that we have also noted is that maybe Ghanaians, and for that matter Africans, are confusing gayism, lesbianism with gay marriage. I want to make a categorical statement. In Ghana, there is no arrangement here that allows for gay marriage. So to say that gay marriage or LGBTQ marriage or lesbian marriage or homosexual marriage is not part of Ghana's culture, it is absolutely true. There is no gay marriage in Ghana, and gay marriages is not part of Ghanaian culture, and gay marriage is illegal because it has not been legalized. So to say, gay marriage is a Western country, and that is also true. But to say LGBTQ is a taboo, inhuman, alien to our culture, and also is also a huge fallacy. Homosexuality, gayism, lesbianism are all God's creation. They exist everywhere in the world. They are God's creation, and it has always been so since time immemorial. It is not a taboo. In addition, to say God created man and woman to fulfill procreation of human beings on earth, it is absolutely true. It is also established fact that God created certain human species like hermaphrodites, persons who have both organs, that is male and female organs. These species of human beings may or may not give birth. These species are also human beings and they exist everywhere in the world. They are categorized as part of the LGBTQ community. It is therefore established that not all human species can give birth, as being claimed by the National House of Chiefs. In respect of the closing down of the LGBTQ office at Taizano in Accra and other arrests and detentions carried out by the government of Ghana, the actions of government expressly undermine the human rights of the victims as enshrined in the Constitution of Ghana. It undermines their freedom of association, their freedom of speech, and their freedom of assembly. We are therefore calling on the state institutions like CHRAJ and other appropriate legal bodies to institute investigations into the matter and make the necessary recommendations in order to curtail any reoccurrence of such incident. This issue cannot be used by sponsors of the bill to justify the basis for proposing the bill because the whole action is unconstitutional. This issue of LGBTQ has come a long way in Ghana. All the points raised by anti-LGBTQ advocates in Ghana also suggest that they don't understand what is really at stake. Because we don't understand why Ghanaians say they don't know the existence of Kojo Besia and Supi persons in this country. We don't understand when Ghanaians say they don't know boys who behave as girls exist. We want to take this opportunity to seek the indulgence of the President and the government of Ghana to allow civil society organizations sympathetic to the plight of the LGBT community a free hand to undertake public education on LGBTQ issues. We see the action being carried out by Honorable Sam George Nati and his colleagues as an agenda to send the developmental drive of Ghana backwards.
You have 3 minutes.
The President of the United States of America has issued a memorandum dated 5 February 2021 and placed United States of America at the forefront of global LGBTQ rights, and also directed all his agencies operating abroad to ensure that U.S. diplomacy and foreign assistance promote and protect human rights of LGBTQ community globally. President Joe Biden has also gone ahead to employ a special envoy on LGBTQ issues to see to the implementation of his memorandum. This position was vacant during the administration of President Donald Trump. The United Kingdom Prime Minister has also done so by employing a special envoy to see to the LGBTQ issues. The United Nations, African Union, ECOWAS have all issued various statements to caution Ghanaians against the passage of the proposed legislation. In spite of all these major interventions, it looks strange for high-level government officials in both the executive and legislature who know the implications of this law are still clamoring for the passage of the bill. It is the most fruitless expedition that has ever been carried out in Ghana since the attainment of independence in 1957. We, however, believe that the silent majority of our parliamentarians who have the country at heart will never condescend to this form of primitive legislation. It is time African leaders took a serious look into the affairs of the LGBTQ issues and stopped trivializing it on unfounded cultural and religious values. Finally, we are by this presentation calling on the President and the good people of Ghana to reject the bill in the supreme interest of Ghana. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I glanced through your document. There was one that you presented to us today, the one that you used. And before we go on with the questions, I am drawing your attention to some paragraphs that I will be happy that they are not part of the records. The first one is at page 3 of your document, and the first paragraph, the sentence ending the paragraph says, since President John Najekum Kufuor and our current president have not come out openly to support your bill, we humbly submit that Honorable Sam George Nati and his colleagues withdraw the involvement of the presidents from their agenda. There is nothing like this before us as anybody holding any former president or current president on their agenda. So I'll be grateful if that part is, you withdraw that by, then the second one is at page 5. Again, I also see that as an attack on Honorable Sam George. We want to take this opportunity, that is the third sentence. We want to take this opportunity to challenge Honorable Samuel George Nati and his colleagues to boldly come out and say to the world that they have never known the existence of these gays that we are talking about. We are not, the Honorable Sam George is one of the proponents of this bill. He remains a member of parliament, and the private members bill is one of the tools that we used. And that's what the team has actually presented before parliament. Then the last but one is at page 7. This one is not against anybody, but at page 7, the last but one sentence says, we are therefore calling on state institutions like TRAJ and the appropriate legal bodies to institute investigations into the matter and make the necessary recommendations in order to curtail any recurrence of such incidents. Again, this is Parliament of Ghana. The bill was submitted to Parliament, and it was referred to this committee to actually go through the bill and submit a report to Parliament. And we invited members of the public, and you are here to assist us. And if you have a charge to come in on a matter of human rights and other things, then I think you are at the wrong forum. Then the last one, but before I go on to the conclusion, would you agree that we expunge this from the records by you withdrawing openly on this? If you agree with me and you do that, then we can continue.
Mr. Chairman, you've made several observations, and I don't know the particular one that you are talking about.
That's what I'm saying, that all of them are not in the best interest, like attacking my colleague, Honorable Sam George. You can put in place that this, the proponents of the bill, without necessarily mentioning the name of Honorable Sam George. And I don't think, for instance, he said that he doesn't know that Kojo Beziers exists in Ghana. Otherwise, they wouldn't even think of bringing the bill, because they know they exist. That's why they came up with this bill. And so challenging them to say they don't know they exist, I think it is not the best of interest. Honorable Sam George is here, and I don't want this to be a direct confrontation. Otherwise, he will ask 101 questions. So if you agree with me that you withdraw this, then we expunge that from our records.
I withdraw. I withdraw.
Thank you, sir. At page 8, in the conclusion, again it came. We see the action being carried out by Honorable Sam George Nati and his colleagues as an agenda to send the development drive of Ghana backwards. That's also in bad taste. And then the last one is on the last page. The third paragraph, in spite of all these major interventions, it looks strange for high-level government officials in both the executive and legislature who know the implications of this law are clamoring for the passage of the bill. Then it goes on. It is the most fruitless expedition carried out in Ghana since the attainment of independence in 1957. I think this is in bad taste as well. The language, this is parliament, and the language. And then the next sentence says, we however believe that the silent majority of our parliamentarians who have the country at heart will not condescend to this form of primitive legislation. So, say if you withdraw this, we could, and I don't think it would actually change anything in your paper. I agree for. If you do, then we proceed. Thank you.
I have withdrawn.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so, Honorable colleague, not on this because they've been expunged from the records. I direct that they be as expunged from the records. So there are three presenters. Ghana Must Know is here. Professor Aka is here, and then CDE is here. Please, let's now engage them to actually get clarifications on the presentation. Honorable Sessom.
Thank you very much. My first question goes to the Center for Democratic Empowerment. I'm happy that the chairman has guided the way for such, such very strong words that look almost like a confrontation with the proponent. Very well, Chairman. So now I've realized that your entire presentation and memo sought to completely undermine the proposed bill, and then also sought to suggest that the bill in its current form does not provide any safe haven at all for persons who belong to the LGBTQ+ community. So what would be your response to provisions in clause 19 of the bill that provides for support for victims of that community, 20 that provides for access to medical help or treatment of that persons belonging to that community, 21 that provides for flexible sentencing regimes for that community, and then 22 that provides for prohibition of extrajudicial treatment of persons belonging to that community. Once I understand your passion and emotions, I think it would be right for us to properly dissect the bill that is before us so that we can put out the emotions and look at the bill as it is, so that everyone coming is assisting the committee to come up with a determination that will be in the best interest of the Republic of Ghana. So what would you say about all these safe havens that have been provided by the proposed bill before Parliament? My second question goes to the second question goes to know, what's the name of the Ghana Must Know. Ghana Must Know made a lot of constitutional arguments before the committee, and particularly made reference to Article 12(2) of the 1992 Constitution, where you said that the enjoyment of our rights are limited by public interest. But you also admitted that nobody would be, or everyone is entitled to their fundamental human rights, regardless of their race, their gender, their religious affiliations, and so on and so forth. So how then do you juxtapose your position on this provision with provisions in Article 7